Right. So today's talk is a lot about navigation and wayfinding. So a lot about how we as user experience designers or practitioners help people find what they're looking for and get from A to B. And I thought this picture is quite an appropriate one. That happens obviously in real life, and you are probably like at Victoria station, or I don't know, wherever it might be in London, and you want to get from A to B, and there's a lot of like different systems and mechanisms in place to help you to know which platform to get to, or if you want to get to toilets or a shop, then how you work your way there. So I'm going to talk about a bit that, but in the context of my workplace. So as Johnny kindly introduced me, I'm Khash. I'm a user experience architect at Sky Betting and Gaming. I'm part of the core tribe. Sky Betting and Gaming works in tribe model. It's I don't know if you're familiar with the concept, but things work. The org structure is in different, I guess, teams. Big teams are called tribes, and smaller ones are called squads. I'm part of the central team called core. That serves basically all the different products that we've got. As a central team, we look after the user onboarding, so how people create an account and prove that they are who they say they are. Account access, how you log in, how you log out. Account management, payments, how you pay for your transactions, how you withdraw money to your bank account. And also the digital touch points of safer gambling mechanisms. So safer gambling as a concept is just above and beyond simple things you can do on the product, but the digital touch points of it is the area that Core Tribe owns. The whole business functions in multidisciplinary squads, and squads are basically the smaller units of a tribe. We've got four squads within the core tribe, and I manage the user experience design team or user experience architecture team in core tribe in Sheffield. And there's about 12 different products in the portfolio of Sky Betting Gaming. And I say manage, it's a very, I don't know, a really light version of management. There's only two of us basically as UX design, user experience architects in core. We are quite, again, like a central team that serves all different squads. But as I said, there are two of us, and we work really well together. So I think manage is quite a strong word for what I do, but that I've got line management duties, so I went with that. To give you a bit of better understanding of what the structure looks like, because I think this context will bring some of the points that I'm going to talk about a bit more to life, and kind of will give you a bit more context as to what I'm talking about. So Sky Betting and Gaming, which is now part of a much bigger company called Flutter, but still will be acting independently, functioning as Sky Betting and Gaming, has got multiple tribes. Core Tribe is the central one. There's Bet Tribe looking after, for example, Sky Bet, Super Six, Fantasy Football. Gaming Tribe looking after Sky Vegas, Sky Poker, those kind of products, and similar. And there are data tribes, people tribes, graduate tribes. There are loads of different tribes, and each, especially like Bet and Gaming Tribe, they function almost as if they are their own company. So there is marketing team within there. There is like a CRM team, customer relationship management team, trading in one, or like game mechanisms in the other. Our structure is a bit more like, in core is a bit more like, we've got the onboarding and account management, account squad, which includes safer gambling, payment squad, and some more, which are basically internal facing squads that I don't necessarily work with. I'm in touch with them, and there's another UX architect who looks after the internally facing squads, but myself and the other UX architect in Core Tribe look after the external facing, which are the onboarding, account management, payments. Cool. I think it's worth also mentioning that there's definitely, it's good to address the elephant in the room, that basically I work for a gambling company. And for sure, I appreciate that is, for many people, quite a questionable decision for a person to, first of all, work in a gambling company. Well, first of all, decide to join a company and then carry on. I've been working at Sky Betting Gaming for a year and a half to continue working there, because at the end of the day, there are a lot of I guess negative connotations around gambling, and for right reasons, a lot of people are critical of gambling industry as a whole, for right reasons as well. But I thought it's a good opportunity to share my perspective with you as well, not to support or defy anything. I'm not trying to say gambling is good or bad, or try to advocate for anything, but just purely share my take on things. But at the end of the day, I think I've joined a gambling company about a year and a half ago, and I'm still there. So I think it would be good to just share some insights from what I've experienced, because previously, I'd never placed a bet on anything. I had literally zero exposure to betting and gambling. So my take on gambling as an industry, or betting and gaming, Sky Betting and Gaming as a company, would be that it was. I mean, you do get some kind of big dilemma when you're about to join a company like Sky Betting Gaming as a gambling company, you've got those ethical questions in your head. But I decided to join, and one of the big reasons that it didn't massively hold me back from taking this opportunity and joining Sky Betting Gaming was that if I really personally, I believe that if you really think something is wrong or bad, it's important to do something about it. And I really wanted to give it a go and to be the change that I would like to see. If gambling industry is problematic, or at least it's a good opportunity for me to get in there and have a voice and potentially challenge. If I can't make any difference, then probably it's a good idea to get out. But if then you can see some good intentions, it's good for good players to be in an industry that could potentially be quite negative in some areas. And I have to say that I was pleasantly surprised by the people who were quite critical of some areas of the industry when I joined SBG, Sky Betting and Gaming. So there were loads of colleagues who either never played or played any kind of gambling games, or never placed a bet, and they had really healthy view of things, and they wanted to be like a ethical decision maker in the company. What I've observed and what I've seen and what I've witnessed is that betting and gambling is quite a fun activity for the vast majority of people, but definitely sometimes it could go sour. And definitely SBG isn't quite there yet. Sky Betting Gaming isn't quite there yet, but I believe it's one of the more responsible ones. We don't have any like VIP clubs or schemes. The senior leadership team believes that keeping customers safe is the right thing to do, and they do make big decisions for that. They also know that kind of decision making is the best way forward for the business. There is a safer gambling program that runs across the whole company. There is like a head of safer gambling in the company who looks into a lot of the internal tools, how we go about it, the digital touch points, offline touch points, the risk and responsibility team trying to get in touch with those who are showing harmful behavior. You know, there are loads of planning and strategy behind their interaction with customers. And people talk a lot about doing the right thing at the company, which is quite encouraging. There is still a lot of work to do. I think in some areas we haven't yet translated doing the right thing or safer gambling values into how we measure our impact in the society, or how we prioritize our pieces of work for development. To give you an example, measuring revenue is far easier and more straightforward than, you know, if we release this feature to help people be a bit more cautious about their spending. You know, how do we measure that impact? It's a challenging area. It needs a lot of monitoring systems on a mass scale. So, you know, that's why companies like Google, you know, the YouTube division of Google or Twitter struggle to monitor their platforms and the bad actors on their platforms, because they need a mass scale monitoring system. Well, we do have data scientists with their data models to detect harmful behaviors and kind of for the systems to trigger some sort of alerts for colleagues to know that someone is going a bit out of normal with their behavior. But there is still a lot to do. I personally strongly believe that we still need to do a bit more to get on our users' skin, to understand what happens that they go a bit south with their behavior and they start to show harmful behavior and cause problem for themselves and others. And obviously there are some other internal tools, etc., that we can do to empower people to make better decisions internally. But yeah, just give a quick summary of my kind of observation, I guess. But going back to the point about you know, improving the navigation of Sky betting gaming, especially just Sky Bet as a product, I would like to take a detour, a quick one, and talk about something that I feel quite passionate about personally, and it's called information architecture. And to put it really simply, it's basically organizing stuff so that they're easy to find. And the way that I'm going to explain to you is actually inspired by a fantastic UX designer and strategist called Chris Howe, who works at Clear Left, and he's got a fantastic talk on this topic that's available on YouTube as part of a UX Brighton event. So I definitely recommend you check it out if you're interested to learn more. About information architecture is something that's not necessarily just digital products. If you go to a supermarket, there are a lot of user information architecture decisions made in how, you know, items are put next to each other. So, for example, tomato is a fruit, but that's what, you know, data might say. People want to find it in the veg section, so, you know, be able to understand these differences. It helps you to put tomatoes next to other vegetables so that people can actually go and find it instead of putting it next to strawberries, for example. How we arrange our wardrobes is again another example of how we practice information architecture. Do we put trousers and jeans and shorts together, or do we put them next to I don't know, our shoes and socks all together in one drawer, or do you put maybe you're a bit more like my wife, and she's got like summer section and winter section, whereas I'll just have all of my jeans in one place, all of my t-shirts in one place, regardless of seasons. So how we go about these things, again, we're practicing information architecture. Another example of this is how we organized our cupboards, and that's probably why sometimes my wife and I have a bit of a Barney, because I can't find what I'm looking for. Because from my wife's point of view, for example, the trays go next to pans for whatever reason, you know. And obviously that happened. The information architecture is an important part of how digital products are put together as well. So Chris Howe in his talk talks about Richard Saul Wurman talking about his principles. So he says that, so Richard Wurman talks about information being infinite, but the way that you can organize information is finite. And he introduces a really interesting, a good, I guess, robust, that's the best way to describe it, robust principle. That's basically latch principle. Latch are the initial letters for these ways that we can categorize information based on location, based on alphabetical order, based on time, category, you know, are they veg, are they fruit, or hierarchy, the fastest runner in the history, or categorizing, organizing based on the fastest at the top and the slowest at the bottom, that kind of thing. So I thought, instead of me just going on about stuff, it would be good to be a bit more interactive, and hopefully we're not physically in one place, but we can actually interact a bit more. And I thought, again, this is inspired by Chris Howe, and he talked about information architecture, but I thought we can do a little kind of practice in information architecture together. So imagine that you own a record shop, and it's not called Rough Trade, it's called Tough Trade. And it's not any normal record shop, it's slightly odd. And in what sense it's odd? It's because the way that records are categorized, the music is categorized in the shop, is wacky and crazy. So my question for this activity is, what is the worst or the wackiest way to organize your record shop? Think about how you would go about it, and use the chat section and jot down your suggestions and your ways that you would go about it. Yeah, the first one is by color of the cover. Yeah, that would look really nice, wouldn't it? Starting from probably, Johnny, I guess from red, going to orange and then blue, and how much I liked it. Yeah, yeah. Of course, you can have a whole section dedicated to the shop owner saying from the left to right, this is the most loved ones, all the way to most hated ones. Hair color of the lead singer, perfect. Yeah, that's a very good one. Although, what happens if someone is bald? That would be a tricky one for lead singers. By the image found on the album cover. Yeah, again, visually, you know, the color. Again, we can think about, you know, different categories that you might have there. Patterned or not patterned, that kind of thing. Lead singer's distance in miles from Manchester city centre. Font size, yeah, that's a good one. If you're really into reading a lot of text, then you can go all the way to the back of that stack and find the tiniest font on the album cover. Length of the first track, exactly. Yeah, if you want a specific, you've got a speech maybe that you want to have, you want it to go on for 45 minutes. You maybe are presenting at UX Sheffield and you want a background music that has got the length of exactly 45 minutes or something. You can then use that way of categorizing. by just the name of the cover. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense as well. The year, exactly. Yeah, maybe you're a record collector for all the albums in 1991. Number of hit records. Yeah, exactly. The best way to get bang for your buck. By date, yeah, that's a good one as well. By recording studio location, exactly. Yeah, loads of good options. Yeah, exactly. Number of singers or band members. I'll be surprised to find what trumps the rest in that biggest one. By font color, yeah, that definitely will be very confusing for people. I love these wacky ideas. I think these are great. By lead singer's star sign. Yeah, if you're really into your kind of I don't know, if you're a Pisces like me and you really want to just listen to those people. Customer voting poll, yeah, if you care about other people's opinion about all of them, yeah. Change the ordering system every other day. I think that's a very good one. Collective age of the group, yeah. If you want to make sure that everybody's old and really old, then that's a very good way to go about it. Cool. Okay, sorry, I can't cover all of the ideas, although I think we've done pretty well to have some wacky ideas there. So some examples here as well that we've got are kind of put together, alphabetical would be, what's the producer's name? That's very irrelevant, isn't it? But anyway, going back to the main topic, improving navigation of Sky Bet. I have to add that this is a side project that I personally kicked off alongside some of the roadmap items that I was meant to deliver. So it's still a relatively slow project, but also it's a work in progress. So I'll kind of give you updates as far as we've got to. But we've had some interesting insights, but I think it's a long journey. It probably takes a couple of years to get there, to be perfectly honest with you. But and then also it's worth adding that it's just not me working on this. Tash, who's the other UX architect in Core Tribe, and Tom, who's a senior product manager, and a lot of other people have contributed to this. It's impossible to work on something like this on my own. To give you a bit more context, Core Tribe, the external facing squads, own a specific section of Skybet products. So if you open Skybet app and you find your little profile icon at the top right and you tap on it, then you open My Account. And basically that's the area that we own in Core Tribe within those three squads that I previously mentioned, which are external facing. So that's a bit of context. That's basically where we all live, in the group of people that I work with on a day-to-day basis. Why we looked into it, why was it that I decided to kick off this project, or like talk to the head of product to get some budgets, etc., to do a bit of work on this piece, is that, as I explained, My Account is home for the teams that are based in Core Tribe, and you can see that section of the website nicely correlates with our org structure. Basically, when I joined the business, I realized that actually the way that our org structure works is quite visible on the products that we produce as well. And so yeah, I've highlighted, those three tribes that are on the Core Tribe facing externally. Two of them touch on anything to do with customers who are logged in. And that's basically the remit of My Account. So the first reason that we decided to look into it was that I basically had a niggling question. Was this the best way to surface the services that we owned? Was this the best way for customers to come and find what they were looking for, if they were looking for a service that we provide? Basically, in other words, is the information architecture based on users' mental models? We had a lot of, not a lot, but some duplication of work, especially in navigation space. So we had a couple of examples where you could find two different versions of the same kind of feature existing in two different parts or multiple parts of the site. And sometimes making things worse, they were presenting different information. So again, you know, why do we have two versions of the same feature in two different areas? You kind of question, is that what really people think? 50% go here and 50% go there, or is it just because we internally we couldn't make a decision about what we wanted to do, and we just end up putting in two different places because just org structure reasons, you know, different teams went their own ways basically. And also another reason was that when I remember very vividly when I first joined, there was this question being floated around in my tribe that was basically, what is the future of sidebar? And when people say sidebar in my team, they meant basically this my account, this thing that comes up from the side of the app when you tap on that profile icon. And pretty much everybody thinks it's like a horrid looking thing. It looks like something from 1990s. So that's what my colleagues were saying. And I knew that there were some actual efforts previously made by other colleagues historically trying to like address this sidebar or this my account section of the website, our product. But I realized that there were three important factors crippling decision making. One was lack of solid evidence. I think we didn't have, or those people who wanted to do something about it didn't have a solid understanding of users and their needs and what they expected. And it's really hard to then justify your kind of proposal. It's hard to say that I think this sidebar, this my account looks rubbish or doesn't work the way it should be, but you don't have any evidence to back your kind of claim up. Another reason was that basically about 76% of all transactions across Sky Betting and Gaming happens via this section of the website. Core as a tribe is a central unit so that we can deal with like central things, common areas across all products. And that meant basically all the payments, well, 76% of payments goes through this central unit or this central service. And that's worth about £608 million in revenue in 2019. That's heck of a lot of money. And you know, it is hard to, you know, senior stakeholders get uncomfortable to say we want to touch this because they say, well, it's not broken, don't touch it. You know, why would you want to do anything with it? Because there's so much importance on it that makes everybody a bit nervous. And also ownership of the whole section. You know, we've got different squads owning bits of it, but collectively, who owns the collection of these squads' services coming together? And I think that's a good thing about a user experience architect, or I guess user experience designer. You get a chance to actually step back and see things from customers' point of view and be an advocate for the customers, and that kind of automatically gives you a more, I guess, holistic view of things, and you are easily able to see above and beyond these boundaries. So again, things would fall between the boundaries of squads or smaller teams, and lack of ownership means that, you know, I've got my roadmap items to do. Maybe we can do it next year, or is someone else's job to do anything about this. So I really try to be mindful of these factors when we went about doing this project. And I have to be honest, you know, it's not that I kind of mapped these out at the very beginning of the project and I was like, yeah, I'm mindful of this. I collected this kind of insight as I was going through it, and you take one step, you take one learning from a conversation, and then you realize, oh, actually, this person is being very nervous about this conversation. Why? That kind of thing. So I'll explain a bit more about how we went about doing this. I'm conscious of time as well. I'll try to be a bit faster. I started with user research. I did some open card sorting. If it's new to you, I definitely recommend you looking it up. If you just Google card sorting on NN Group, Norman Nielsen Group, you get a lot of good resources. I did an open card sorting. All the cards were based on actions that you could take or a user could take on Sky Bet and Sky Vegas. The whole idea is that all the actions are listed and you ask people to categorize them. That helps you to understand those people's mental models, to see what they associate with what, and you know how they categorize things. You know, do they put trousers and jeans together? Trousers and joggers together, or do they put socks and hats in there as well? I used a tool called Optimal Workshop, and it gives you this amazing analysis. So on the left side, which is blurred in each graph, is every single action that you can take, or every single piece of card that digitally people could move about and categorize. And you can see that it helps you to understand what people associate with what, and that way you can categorize your product in a better way, so people can actually say, yeah, I'm looking for log out. I would expect to find it there next to these other things, and I would call it this. I won't bother you too much with the findings, but I think one that was really interesting was that basically less than 45% of participants agreed with the way that we had defined the boundaries of my account or the sidebar and the rest of the product. So basically, less than 45% of participants agreed with the fact that we have mapped out our org structure onto our product. I guess it's not a big surprise, but it's good to have some quantitative evidence to actually speak numbers to say, you know what, you could easily improve that and make the whole product easier to use if you actually increase that 45% to 55%, or then eventually to potentially 75%. Another thing was that all the payment related things were all together. I guess that's not a big surprising thing, but that's not how it works right now on the My Account section of Sky Bet. And an interesting one is that profit and loss. Basically, profit and loss is a tool that we have created for our customers to be able to view how much they've won and how much they've lost in, I don't know, last 7 days or last 30 days. And it really helps people to be informed about, you know, what's going on in how they spend money, and are they losing a lot of money recently or in the past 12 months. It just brings awareness to helps them to make informed decisions. And it is part of that safer gambling initiative or safer gambling program that we have in the company. So we see it internally as a safer gambling thing. We talk about it as this is something to help people be a bit safer with their gambling. But actually, through this card sorting activity, we realized that people actually don't associate profit and loss with other safer gambling mechanisms that we've got, which kind of gives us the impression that actually is a is something on its own. Maybe it's an indicator of my performance on Sky Bet. You know, am I doing well? Am I doing not so well? Am I losing a lot of money? But it's not necessarily for me to be told that I am being safe with my gambling. So that really helps you to, I guess, make better strategic decisions. You know, focus on your customers better, and maybe you can think about where you can put profit and loss so that people can access that a bit better. We know that it's got good effect, has a very good effect on people. It's helping people to, we've got evidence that it's helping people to make better decisions for themselves. How can we make it more accessible, more easy to find? Some of the results, the results of card sorting came out, but then there were some struggles with that as well. We struggled to prioritize which area to focus on. It didn't give us clear pinpoints. It didn't really pinpoint the pain points for us. And the understanding phase, you know, the user research is all about understanding users, and this understanding phase has got a lot of vagueness and ambiguity, and it's really uncomfortable for some people. It's definitely uncomfortable, and going through sessions, analysis sessions, and sharing these things with different people, stakeholders, it does sometimes make them uncomfortable and less engaged in the conversation, and they switch off. So we did more research. We did tree tests, and we tried to understand the exact pain points. Again, I don't think I've got a lot of time to explore this, explain this tree test, but basically you've got your structure of your website on a very like a high level. You know, it's just the skeleton of your website, and you give participants tasks, and they go and say, yeah, I would, if you want me to go and find my profit and loss, you know, to view how much I've won in the past 30 days, I would go here and find it here. And you can see an example of it on the right side of this screen, how the tree or kind of the structure looks like, and people click on it and find where they would try to get to. And it gives you something like this. You can actually tangibly or quantitatively say that, you know what, 40% of people can't go and view how much they've won or lost in the past 7 days. It gives you really tangible results. It gives you pain points. You can talk about it and you can prioritize these things. So we understood that 15% of people would try to tap on that balance section of the header to add money to their account. Guess what happens right now? If you tap on it, nothing happens. Again, pain point, you've got potentially 15% of people trying to add money to their account, and you're not facilitating that. We talked about profit and loss. 40% of people couldn't get there. And then after this, we try to like jot down the problem statements and opportunities that we had. I personally did a meh job of this. I have ideas in my head, and I just quickly say, yeah, of course, that's the problem, and I kind of move on. So I didn't quite boil things down and make it really tangible in one sentence, easy to understand, to be able to communicate either. I'll get back to that point and why that wasn't good. That did cause problems for me later on in the process. We had ideation sessions. I ran workshops with the help of Tash and Tom and a lot of other people. We had this wall, we call it Design Studio. We covered it with the insights, with people's comments on different concepts that we came up. We tried to explore, you know, all those good activities to come up with solutions. We happen to have a lab session to do usability testing in person in a lab, and we just said, yeah, let's get some prototypes ready based on those concepts and test them alongside the main objective of the lab session that we had. So we tested in person some of those concepts with actual customers. So very quickly we managed to get some feedback on some of those concepts and ideas and hypotheses. Just to be clear on this one, it wasn't, that if I was so well equipped to quickly spin up an opportunity for us to do a usability lab. It just was quite a coincidence that we had scheduled a lab session, and then we were in a good place that we had some concepts that we could test. So I guess it was a bit lucky to be able to test this with customers in a lab. But yeah, off the back of those, we managed to think and talk about some small changes that we could make. We introduced this concept of wallet. We had solid evidence that people could tap on the balance and they want to add money to their account. We realized that people would associate all the payments related stuff, all the money related stuff in one place. So we tried to incorporate that insight into this concept of wallet, and we wanted to test and learn from this. I personally was quite keen to have envisage and plan some bigger changes as well. Let's improve the whole navigation across the whole product, but that does require collaboration across silos, and that's difficult. That was my face after many conversations or meetings or emails. You need buy-in from people that are busy with what they're doing, and you want their buy-in. And I would say you sometimes, I guess in this case, you need a senior sponsor to be able to kind of coordinate, to say, yeah, let's go in this direction. And I would say that I probably didn't do a good job of these things. But now looking back, I definitely think these are areas that I would definitely need to be able to make a bigger change. But to be perfectly honest, I'm sticking with smaller changes at the moment, and planning for bigger changes down the line rather than as my next step. So in my head, I was like, oh yeah, we've got these 3 tribes touching products. For this specific project, Core and Bet as 2 tribes can come together, really work together, and bish bash bosh out the navigation problems that we've got, because there was a lot of insight and data to help us make decisions. But then I realized actually it's really hard to get the buy-in from Bet because they're busy with other things. And then we still had involvement from designers from Bet, product managers, very interactive with some of the ideas and some of the conversations. But when it actually comes to implementing anything or pushing anything into live, they've got their own plans. They're all busy with their roadmaps. They want to have some of their own strategic work that they want to do, and it's really hard to kind of justify this collaboration. So basically, from this being in my head that, oh yeah, we're going to work amazingly together, it became that, oh yeah, let's focus on what we can do as a group of people who really bought into this idea in Core, get some help from Bet, and then see where we get to, and maybe we can have more conversations down the line. So going back to the problems and opportunities that we tried to hone down. I didn't do one pages, and I guess I should explain one pages. So basically, one piece of paper, you explain why you're doing it, why it matters, and the value in it, that kind of thing. I didn't do one pages. I'm more of an intuitive person. I don't sit down and plan a lot of things. So as soon as something, a light bulb switches on in my head, I'm ready to go and just do things off the back of that, rather than think about how I can plan this and articulate it to other people. So I didn't have any one pages justifying this to other people, and why we should work on these problems. And problem statements weren't well articulated. They were like, yeah, there is this finding, but I didn't quite say, well, this causing this much, there's this much potential in there. I didn't really articulate it that well. And again, people now thinking back and looking back, I can see why people start to say, well, what exactly do you want me to do with this? But nevertheless, I think within Core, it was quite strong, I guess, because Core is in Sheffield and the rest is in Leeds. The rest of the Sky Betting gaming companies in Leeds, it's easier to talk with people in Sheffield, and I presented it to the whole group of people, got the buy-in, and people were more involved in the whole idea. So we started to progress with that. And we started to say, yeah, if we come up with these ideas and concepts, how we can prioritize this. We use we're currently using Lean UX hypothesis prioritization canvas, which I think is very, very helpful. You've got this axis for your value or perceived value, and one around your risk or level of confidence that you've got. And it's really helped us to talk about what value means to us as Sky Betting Gaming. And it's been a good opportunity to actually introduce some of the safer gambling conversation and what value actually means, how we prioritize work alongside commercial impact. It's not all about money, and now we've got an opportunity to bring safer gambling, but more importantly, elements of user experience in there. How easy to use is our products and how much we can influence that. It's a work in progress. So far, it meant that as a tribe, we are a bit closer to customers. It's helped to shift a bit of a culture in the way that we go about product development, at least in core. In my kind of team. First experiment is going live very soon, I think beginning of June, that's scheduled to go live. And we're going to have wallet released to a small group of people. So again, exciting. There's loads of people eyeing up their experiment. And it's also given me, it's the head of product, my line manager, has seen the opportunity in there and is giving me the bandwidth for me to run with this side project alongside the roadmap items. So I think it's also given, I guess the value has been seen by senior people in my tribe as well. But quickly reflecting, and I guess these are things that I would, encourage you as well to think about. Always one big thing that I have taken away that I was kind of convinced by, got reinforced on my thinking, is that it's always good to keep eyes off users. Sorry, that's meant to say eyes on users. Don't hopefully we've got nothing to do with eyes of users. Sorry about that typo. Eyes on users. But there are three other things that I kind of wish I had done better, and that's articulating problems. I'm a person who goes around and says, what's the problem statement? What is the actual problem we want to achieve? And it's funny that I failed to do that myself when it came to producing that one pager. Stakeholder analysis, massively recommend this, especially in the bigger companies. It's hard to know who you need to spend more time with and kind of understand their point of view. This is something that my line manager suggested to me, but I just didn't get to do it. So it's definitely my fault, but I think I would have benefited from knowing exactly who I need to talk to more about this and how I need to build a bit better relationship and understanding, so that they could say, you know what, Khash, you just go and get that one page done, and then we can talk about this. And also speaking through prototypes, I think this is a very, very important one, especially if you've got a very mature product like, Sky Bet. You're not going to spin up a new product like a startup, but if it's a mature product, it's really important to explain your thinking when you get to a point that you actually have got your product problem statement sorted and everything. It's really good to push all the way to high fidelity prototype and explore possibilities in that space, because if you're touching a mature product, but obviously if you're doing more strategic work, then I guess storytelling, I'm working on more of the story of what Sky Bet could be for customers. That's a different story. But if you're touching the existing product, I think working with high fidelity prototypes is very, very important. It really easily bridges stakeholders imagination gap, and it's really helpful to articulate. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you very much. If you've got any questions, we can go through it now. Sorry, I've talked a bit too much, but then also if you have any questions or criticism, if you think that I was just talking a lot of rubbish, do get in touch. I would love to hear your point of view and feedback as well. Get in touch with me on Twitter or LinkedIn.